Hello and welcome to TVB News. Hong Kong police are offering $1 million rewards for information leading to the arrest of 8 activists who have fled overseas. The 8, including 3 former lawmakers, are accused of national security-related offenses. Jackie Lin with more.
One of the 8 self-exiled opposition figures being placed a $1 million bounty is former Democratic Party lawmaker Ted Hui. He's accused of 3 security law-related crimes, the most among the 8 fugitive activists. The charges include incitement of secession. Police accuse him of repeatedly advocating Hong Kong and Taiwan independence and colluding with anti-China politicians overseas. Also named ex-legislator Nathan Law, who chaired the now-disbanded political group Demosisto. Law was said to have held public rallies outside Hong Kong and sought to impose foreign sanctions on Beijing and the SAR government. Businessman Omer Yun Gong-yi, too, is on the list. He was said to have established a Hong Kong Parliament Electoral Organizing Committee overseas and called for sanctions on the SR's judges. Yun is the father-in-law of current lawmaker Eunice Yong, who pledged support for the police's law enforcement efforts. The remaining 5 wanted by the National Security Police are ex-legal sector lawmaker Dennis Kwok, progressive lawyers groups Kevin Yam, unionist Meng Siu-tat, as well as activists Anna Kwok and Vin Lau. Kwok was said to have colluded with anti-China politicians and groups in a bid to damage Hong Kong's linked exchange rate system. Chief Superintendent of the Police National Security Department Lee Kwai-wah said the reward notices could help them track down the fugitives.
Of course, you may say that now they're overseas, that may be useful, but you never know. Maybe someday he come back to Hong Kong through other illegal means. That kind of information should be very useful for us.
Lee said the $1 million rewards were not for optics, but to bring those responsible to justice. He added anyone supporting them financially could face the risk of violating the security law. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Police have urged the public to be vigilant against internet scams using artificial intelligence to trick people into handing over their money. This as police recorded almost 16,000 cases of fraud in the first months of the year, a 58% rise over the same period last year. Among them, over 1,600 belong to investment fraud cases. Mimo Sangai reports.
In this digital era, the application of artificial intelligence in our daily lives is no longer science fiction, providing people with convenience. But AI technologies can also be manipulated by scammers to commit crimes. Officers from the Cybersecurity and Technology Crime Bureau of the police said the public should be aware of deepfakes. Deepfakes use a form of artificial intelligence to create fake images that look like recognizable people.
Today we are launching an investment project that is working right now if you see this video.
For instance, this deepfake video of business magnate Elon Musk. Officers said scammers often use deepfakes to blackmail people, citing an example of a 25-year-old man who almost fell into the trap.
He had downloaded a very suspicious app that we think is a malicious app that had access to his phone records or his phone information, so that AI deepfake generated pornographic material was used against him, because people may think that it actually is a pornographic image of himself. So he was blackmailed for $1,570 worth of gift card. And he did not comply, so he simply deleted the app and deleted the conversation record with the scammer.
Authorities said while AI is evolving, this does not mean scammers will become trickier or smarter.
AI is actually simply providing new channels for the scammers to gain trust and to approach the potential victims. Once they approach and gain trust from the potential victims, the plot of all scams remains the same.
To prevent personal information from being stolen by scammers, police urge residents to avoid downloading any suspicious apps. Mimo Sanai, TVB News.
The Mainlands amended anti-espionage law came into effect this month. The United States has criticized the law for being unclear and posing a risk to foreign businesses. Some mainland illegal scholars believe the new law could help prevent foreign espionage organizations from securing sensitive state secrets. Timothy Lee tells us more.
In recent years, mainland authorities reported numerous instances of cyber attacks targeting the Communist Party leadership and state infrastructure. Starting this month, Beijing's amended anti-espionage law came into effect, expanding a list of activities considered as acts of espionage to include cyber attacks. Some mainland legal scholars, such as Professor Wang Xu of the Renmin University of China Law School, believe that given the large amounts of state archives and administration work conducted online, cyber espionage could compromise the safety of the community. Meanwhile, the U.S. government criticized the newly revised law for being vague and warned foreign companies operating on the mainland that they may be at risk. But a number of legal scholars stress that the purpose of the amendment is to protect the nation and will in turn provide security for the public. The experts urge the public to report any espionage activity once found. This, as Hong Kong's Secretary for Security, Chris Tang, noted in a newspaper interview that national security legislation under Article 23 of the Basic Law would cover espionage activities and cybercrimes endanger national security. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will visit Beijing from the 6th to the 9th of July for meetings with senior Chinese officials on a broad range of issues. According to a senior Treasury official, Yellen will stress that Washington is seeking a healthy economic relationship with China and is not looking to decouple from Beijing. Daniel Rao tells us more.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's trip to Beijing comes just weeks after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited the Chinese capital. During that visit, Blinken agreed with President Xi Jinping to stabilize ties and ensure the two countries' intense rivalry does not veer into conflict. However, bilateral relations between the two superpowers were again tested after U.S. President Joe Biden subsequently referred to Xi as a dictator. According to a U.S. official, Yellen will underscore Washington's determination to strengthen its own competitiveness while responding with allies to what Washington calls economic coercion and unfair economic practices by China. However, the official said Yellen will stress that Washington is seeking a healthy economic relationship with China and is not looking to decouple from Beijing. The Treasury chief is also expected to discuss China's new national security and espionage law and the potential implications for foreign and U.S. firms. She will reportedly talk with Chinese officials about long-awaited U.S. executive action curbing outbound investments in China in certain critical sectors. The official outlines that no major breakthroughs are expected, but that Yellen hopes to have constructive dialogue and builds longer-term channels of communication with China's new economic team, including at the sub-cabinet level. The official, speaking on condition of anonymity, declined to give details on which Chinese officials Yellen would meet in Beijing. A second administration official told Reuters that Yellen is expected to meet Vice Premier He Lifeng. During a video discussion at the China-US Non-Government Leaders Dialogue last week, Zhu Min, former Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, commented on US-China ties. Zhu asserted the difficulties in developing China-US ties at present are largely due to the wrong policy direction of the latest US administrations, which have increasingly viewed China as a primary strategic rival. Donald, TVB News.
Still ahead, in the Philippines, controversy over the use of non-original footage in a tourism promotion video. And 4 bronze zodiac heads from the old summer palace in Beijing will go on display at City University. Welcome back to TVB News. In the Philippines, the Department of Tourism says it is investigating the alleged use of non-original footage in its Love the Philippines campaign video. This video promoting tourism in the Philippines shows tourist attractions in the country, but there are also pictures of rice terraces in Indonesia, an airport runway in Switzerland, and a person driving a buggy over sand dunes in the United Arab Emirates. Authorities said they had repeatedly sought confirmation from the creator of the video, TVB, on the originality and ownership of all materials in the video, and TVB assured them of the authenticity. The agency later apologized for the highly inappropriate images, saying it was an unfortunate oversight. The tourism department launched a campaign last week to promote its tourism sector, spending over $1.3 million. Tourism is a key industry in the Philippines, which boasts pristine dive spots and white sand beaches. But arrivals lag behind those of neighboring countries, partly due to poor infrastructure. Earlier this year, the government introduced a bill to the Legislative Council which would regulate the sale and free distribution of disposable plastic tableware and other plastic products. Zella Chin reports on how the bill could affect consumers.
In the first phase of the Product Eco-Responsibility Amendment Bill 2023, which is expected to go through LegCo at the beginning of 2024 at the earliest, restaurants will not be allowed to provide dine-in customers with single-use plastic containers nor cups. Also, restaurants will be prohibited from providing disposable plastic tableware such as cutlery, straws, and plates. The government proposes that Phase 1 will begin 6 months after the passage of the bill. In Phase 2, restaurants will not be allowed to provide plastic containers nor cups for takeaway. With the increasing plastic-free awareness of the public, it is now considered opportune to put forward the proposed regulation to reduce the use of disposable plastics at source, with a view to minimizing the impacts of plastic pollution on the ecological environment and human health, writes the EPD in an email. Matt Reed opened this restaurant in Quarry Bay in 2002 with the goal of not using disposable plastics. Instead, he uses tableware and containers made from wheat, sugarcane, and oyster shells that cost from $1 to $3 a piece.
How does that compare to the plastic that most restaurants use?
Well, styrofoam that you had for lunch, that can be fractions of a dollar.
Fractions of a dollar,
Yeah.
like 20 cents maybe?
Yeah, possibly like 8 cents.
8 cents?
Yeah, it could be
Wow, so this is a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Matt thinks it will be difficult for most restaurant operators to switch to non-plastic items if the ban on single-use plastics takes effect.
Restaurants are really hard to make money. I mean, we were in a tight margin business before we start. We pay incredibly high rents. We've all been through some really rough, choppy years with COVID. There are a ton of challenges with inflation and rising staff costs, and now rising packaging costs.
Zella Chen, TVB News.
Starting tomorrow, the City University will display 4 of the 12 bronze zodiac heads from Yuan, also known as the Old Summer Palace in Beijing. Veronica Lin reports.
The 12 bronze heads at the Yuan are Grade 1 cultural relics in China. The last time some of them were in Hong Kong was 19 years ago. The bronze ox depicts not the physique of a typical Chinese cow in the countryside, but that of a fighting bull, with its horns pointing to the audience. Among the 4 bronze heads on display, the monkey has the most Chinese characteristics to it. For instance, the head is in the shape of a peach, reminiscent of the beloved character Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. The intricacies and craftsmanship is arguably the most apparent on the bronze pig, as almost every muscle, wrinkle, and vein could be seen. Unlike felines portrayed in the West, this bronze head of the tiger has a Wong character engraved on it, which means king. The bronze heads were originally part of a water clock fountain in Haiyan, which spurts out water from the opening in their mouths at different times of the day.
Understand the mechanical ideas of behind the Great Fountain that was before electricity developed in the world. So it is very amazing to see it is a clock, it is a fountain that without electricity.
Held in conjunction with the 26th handover anniversary, the exhibition was co-organized by City U, China Tourism Group Corporation, and China Poly Group Corporation Limited. Phase 1 of the exhibits, featuring the 4 authentic zodiac heads, will run from July 4th to August 31st. In Phase 2, the replica of the entire collection would then be on display from September 5th to October 31st, which is in collaboration with the Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore. This set of replicas was donated by actor Jackie Chan.
By scanning this QR code, you'll see Yuan Mingyuan's European palaces as they were. From Kalin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.